What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the Halloween Cup once again, and the team we're going to take a look at today is Nidoqueen, Mandibuzz, and Floette. Yes, of course, the main focus of today's video is going to be XL Floette. I had to power this thing up to level 47 at its max level. And you know what? It's surprisingly bulky. This is the pre-evolution of Florges. It's a mono fairy type, and it is a very cool pick that you've probably never seen before in the Great League. So that's why we're going to take a look at it today. We're also going to be taking a look at Mandibuzz on the safe swap, running a kind of odd moveset of Snarl, Shadow Ball, and Aerial Ace. And that's just to help it not be walled, and you're going to kind of see that in these matchups. So without further ado, let's hop into the battles. The main reason I wanted to use Floette is because I was seeing a lot of like Azu, Greninja, Golurk, a bunch of other things that are weak to grass. So there is our first target right away in the first matchup. And as you can see, it's kind of nice having Shadow Ball here. Of course, Aerial Ace is stab, but Shadow Ball is a very good move, so it does do more damage. And the opponent is not able to knock us out with one charge move here. So I will let the first one go. Mandibuzz is extremely bulky. That super effective Mandibuzz tickles the Mandibuzz. I'm able to get to a second Shadow Ball here. And while this isn't really going to threaten any shields against the opponent, I can actually do fairly well in this matchup. I'm going to make it to yet another Shadow Ball unless the opponent throws their energy, and they do just that. But I actually think I can hang on from this range. Mandibuzz lives on 1 HP, making it to a third Shadow Ball. But all this is going to do is set up farm for the Floette. So in comes Floette, looking for the full farm down. The opponent will connect with an Ice Beam here, but that is okay. I can just let this go. Take a look at the bulk of XL Floette. Look at this thing go. It gets the full Vine Whip farm down. I'm expecting they come back with a Scizor, so in comes the Nidoqueen. I really need to get rid of the Scizor because Floette can absolutely not see it, so I will put up a shield on the Night Slash, and in the back is Jellicent, so another Pokemon weak to that Vine Whip Petal Blizzard combo. I'm going to build up to the Stone Edge, and now I'm baiting with a Poison Fang. Poison Fang ends up grabbing the shield from my opponent and of course lowering their defense. I'm going to match shields with my opponent because I know Floette's got some decent bulk on it. So now I'm going to go for the Stone Edge once again on the CMP tie, hoping I can grab that final shield from my opponent, and if I can, Floette will be in a fantastic position because all I need to do is basically throw a Dazzling Gleam against the Scizor and then a Petal Blizzard against the Jellicent, but not unless they let me farm them into a range where a Dazzling Gleam will KO. Back in comes the Scizor, but we have the Dazzling Gleam ready to go. Dazzling Gleam knocks out from half HP. Back in comes the Jellicent, but Jellicent's going to get outpaced as well, and Dazzling Gleam from this range, it's neutral damage, it's stab, it picks up the knockout on the Jellicent, and we are able to take a game 1 win thanks to a Floette sweep. Into the next match, we've got Nidoqueen into a Wigglytuff. The opponent safe switches into a Drifblim, and now in comes Mandibuzz. This is another good matchup for the Mandibuzz because we both resist, astonish, and have super effective coverage with the Shadow Ball. Of course, the opponent does have super effective Icy Wind in this matchup, but I am going to farm up to 100 energy, throwing the Shadow Ball right before they get to another charge move, and Shadow Ball from this range actually not enough to KO, but I do believe that I can hang on to another Icy Wind, so I will just let this go and then look for the full farm down. But the Snarl doesn't KO, the next one does, and we live on 1 HP. We come out with an Aerial Ace loaded for the Wigglytuff, and while this is 2 times lowered, it'll do some solid chip, and the opponent doesn't really get that much farm, which is nice. So back in comes the Nidoqueen. In the back is Golurk. So once again, another target found by the Floette. Floette able to make it to a Dazzling Gleam before the opponent throws their energy, and I'm gonna have to basically commit 2 shields in this matchup because I know if I come out with energy that'll be fine, and Nidoqueen doesn't really need the shields on the lead. So yes, the opponent will make it to back-to-back charge moves, but I can put both of these shields up, look for the full Vine Whip farm down, come out with energy loaded, and then the opponent will be in a very difficult situation as they basically can't shield anything here because they're worried about a super effective Poison Fang. So I'm full setting the Petal Blizzard, they let it go, it does big damage. Back in comes the Nidoqueen, and while the opponent will make it to a super effective Icy Wind, this is non-stab damage, and we are running the non-Shadow Nidoqueen, which means we hold on in the red HP, we get the full farm down, and we are able to take that win. Into the next matchup, picking up a very awkward lead, we've got Nidoqueen into Togetic. Now this is very awkward for this team because Mudslap is double resisted on the lead. They have super effective Psyshock here, and Mandibuzz and Floette don't have good matchups either because Vine Whip and Petal Blizzard are resisted. Whereas the Mana Buzz Snarl is resisted. It takes super effective from Fairy Wind, so I'm going to full send the Stone Edge there and then pivot into the Mana Buzz to absorb some energy. The opponent is going to connect with an Ancient Power at that, so we actually can live that very comfortably, and then in comes a Fire Fang Shadow Mawile. So this is actually a position where having Shadow Ball is really nice, because otherwise we would be completely walled. So Shadow Ball does do some very solid neutral chip. The opponent is forced to throw energy because we would get to another charge move, but they end up just going for a Power Up Punch, which means we will be able to get to a second charge move, and Shadow Ball number 2 will be enough to pick up the knockout unless the opponent commits a shield, and they do just that, and that is okay, because I think Mana Buzz will also make it to another Aerial Ace, and these Snarls have put it into a range where I think an Aerial Ace will KO. Is it enough? Yes, it is. Mana Buzz takes shield advantage and flip switch in the mid game, which is absolutely huge. Not that it does a whole lot for us, but in comes FLOETTE. And in the back is an Azumarill, so another great matchup for the FLOETTE. I will go for the Petal Blizzard as soon as I get there, knowing that my opponent is already down shields, and they do let that go. So now in comes Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen just looking to force some energy here from my opponent, because as soon as they do, I'm going to come back with the FLOETTE, get a full Vine Whip farm down, come out loaded with energy for the Togetic, and we will be in a fantastic position. The opponent is nearly at the back-to-back charge moves, so I will put up a shield on at least one of them. Can they get to another charge move? They are going to bank that for later. I don't believe they're actually going to get there, so I think we will get the full Vine Whip farm down, so I just have to make it to back-to-back charge moves against the Togetic, which means I know I need to let one charge move go. And now I'm able to make it to a charge move, but it looks like we might actually just get the full Vine Whip farm down, even though it is resisted. The opponent does put up a shield. We do win the CMP tie, but that is okay, because they are in Vine Whip farm down range, and I believe so is the Azumarill, but it does not matter, because we come out with a charge move loaded. Back comes the Azumarill. Here comes a Dazzling Gleam, and Dazzling Gleam in the red HP will easily knock out the Azumarill, and we are able to take that win. In tonight's match, we've got Nidoqueen into Azumarill once again. Azumarill is absolutely everywhere in this cup, but this is a lead where I just have to stay in. Yes, Bubbles and Ice Beams are super effective damage, but so is Poison Fang, as if I throw this right away, the opponent's lower defense will make these Mud Slaps do even more damage. I will of course have to commit a shield on the Ice Beam, but then I will look to connect with a second Poison Fang on the CMP tie, but the opponent has other plans. They pivot into a Shadow Nidoqueen of their own, and now in comes Mana Buzz. Mana Buzz, of course, double resisting the Mud Slap damage. The opponent doesn't even farm up to a potential Stone Edge here, so I'm definitely just going to look to overfarm and connect with a Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball will do some very meaningful chip, but it does only put the opponent into the yellow HP, which means now I can just look to pick up the knockout with an Aerial Ace. Once again, the opponent only committing to a Poison Fang there, so that is okay. I can overfarm once again and now look to connect with the Aerial Ace in order to pick up the knockout. Now the question is, what does the opponent want to do from here? They're going to come in with their third, which ends up being a Greninja, so another good matchup for FLOETTE in the back with that Vine Whip, Dazzling Gleam coverage. The opponent is going to let an Aerial Ace go through as well. I'm just staying in, forcing them to throw their energy, and finally my opponent will throw their energy. This is probably just going to be the Night Slash in order to pick up the knockout. The opponent does not get the boost, so in comes FLOETTE. I am going to commit a shield here because I highly expect that my opponent will full send a Hydro Cannon, given they are already up a shield. They will make it to a second Hydro Cannon, but check out the bulk of XL FLOETTE. We hang on pretty comfortably. Back comes the Azumarill, but Azumarill will be outpaced. We make it to the Dazzling Gleam, and Dazzling Gleam will probably be grabbing a shield from the opponent, and now in comes Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen able to make it to the Poison Fang on the CMP tie as well. This is super effective damage. Does the opponent want to let this go? No, they are going to put up a shield, but it does lower their defense, and now an Ice Beam will probably be enough to knock out. Ice Beam does pick up the knockout. Now the question is, can we get the full farm down? It's looking like it's going to be close. I don't think we can get there, but maybe we can fully farm down the Greninja before they make it to another charge move. So Dazzling Gleam connects, it picks up the knockout on the Azumarill. Can we get the full farm down? No, we cannot. The opponent hangs on with 1 HP, making it to one final Night Slash. Night Slash picks up the knockout on the FLOETTE, and unfortunately we do lose that game. In tonight's match, picking up a neutral lead, we've got Nidoqueen into Shadow Scizor. I'm going to throw 3 Mud Slaps as this is neutral damage, and then pivot into the Mana Buzz. The Mana Buzz ends up getting a catch because the opponent kind of threw an alignment there in order to outpace, but Night Slash is resisted. In comes the Azumarill, so we do lure that out once again, which is pretty nice because that can set up farm for FLOETTE in the back once we do soft lose this matchup. We do still have neutral coverage with both Shadow Ball and Aerial Ace, so it's not the worst matchup in the world, but this opponent is going to go for the play rough route, which means they can simply KO with 2 charge moves, and that is okay. I will look to overfarm, connect with another Shadow Ball before I go down, but now I know that 1 Ice Beam from this range will be enough to knock out. They do let me get to a 3rd Shadow Ball, however, because they continue to overfarm, which will do some solid chip. It puts them deep into the red health range, and then they end up pivoting back into the Scizor. I do not react in time. I end up letting my Mana Buzz get fully farmed down, and now in comes Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen gonna no shield the first. It is just the Night Slash bait, which is huge. Now we can make it to a double resisted Poison Fang. The opponent, if they want this Scizor HP, they're gonna have to put up a shield, and even if they do, it does not matter. We get the simultaneous KO, and now it's just about what that final Pokemon is in the back. We've seen the Azumarill. What is their 3rd? They're not going to show us. Back in comes the Azumarill. They're looking to grab a shield before they get out of this matchup, but I am just going to let this go because we've seen how much an Ice Beam does, and it's really not that much. They are at the back-to-back charge move, so I do have to commit a shield here, and then I will look for the full Vine Whip farm down. In the back is a Greninja from the opponent, so we are going to outpace because of that little bit of farm, and Dazzling Gleam, it's super effective damage. It will grab that final shield from my opponent. They will look to connect with a charge move here, but they will outpace me, so I have to call a bait here, and they end up going for that bait. That is absolutely huge. The Night Slash bait is just ginormous because it gets us back into this matchup. They go for Night Slash number 2. I can now look to connect with a Dazzling Gleam to pick up the knockout on the Greninja, and then it's a race, fast moves, Vine Whip versus Bubble. It's going to be close, but we have the advantage. We get the full Vine Whip farm down, and we are able to take that win. In tonight's matchup, picking up a fantastic lead, we've got Nidoqueen into Shadow Fortress, and the opponent is staying in. This is a Bug Bite Shadow Fortress, so the matchup isn't as bad for them as their fast move is only single resisted as opposed to double resisted, and they will go for a super effective Poison Fang. Sanitomb. I will now look to overfarm past the Poison Fang, go for the Stone Edge as this is neutral damage. It picks up the knockout on the Fortress, and we are able to maintain switch. In comes an Araquanid, but Araquanid will also be hit with a super effective Stone Edge unless they commit the shield, and the opponent actually just going to let that go. That does huge damage to the Araquanid, and now I'm going to come in. Where am I going to go here? I'm going to go FLOETTE. I'm reading that they are ABB with a Araquanid and a Gallipot in the back, so knowing that if the Gallipot is on Shadow Claw, that Mana Buzz will resist that and has the bulk to absorb those neutral Aqua Jets, whereas the Bug Bites are resisted here on my FLOETTE. The opponent does end up putting up a shield, so maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's something else weak in the back, but it is actually a Dark Flyer of their own. It is Murkrow. Murkrow will be able to outpace me to the first charge move, but that is okay because I can just let this go. And because Shadow Murkrow is so insanely glassy, we can just spam out Aerial Aces in this matchup. I do overfarm quite a bit. But now here comes Aerial Ace number 1. That grabs the final shield from the opponent. They allow me to make it to Aerial Ace number 2. And while this won't be enough to knock out, it will do huge damage to the Murkrow. Murkrow looking for the full farm down here. They're not going to get it. Instead, they're going to go for a catch on Araquanid. I'm going to go for an undercharge here, getting only the nice there, and then look to come back in with FLOETTE, hoping that I can make it to a charge move before the opponent is able to make it to 3. So back in comes the Murkrow. Murkrow will start spamming out these Jolt Packs here as it is neutral damage. They're already at the back-to-back. Now the question is, how close is the opponent to a 3rd Jolt Pack? Can I get to the Dazzling Gleam before they can? Yes, I can. That's absolutely huge. A 2-shield advantage coming in clutch in this endgame. Dazzling Gleam easily knocks out the Murkrow, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Nidoqueen into Chargebug. So this is a fantastic lead. The opponent is going to stay in this matchup as well. So something is clearly wrong with my opponent's team in the back, and they throw on alignment. Even if they're running Crunch here, it does not matter as Crunch is only neutral damage and it's not enough to 2-shot. So now here comes a Stone Edge. No baits here. I'm full sending. They're already in a bad matchup. They let that go, and that is absolutely huge. In comes a Nidoqueen of their own. Can I make it to a charge move? Yes, I can. They will get the full Mud Slap farm down, but that is okay because now I can connect with a Poison Fang, and even though that is double resisted, their Mud Slaps are double resisted here as well. So that will allow me to pick up the knockout with a single Aerial Ace unless they reset. In comes a Golurk in the back. Another target for the FLOETTE. I'm going to go for a catch of the Dynamic Punch onto the FLOETTE. Did we get that catch? No, we didn't. The opponent ended up baiting with a Shadow Punch, which is really unfortunate because now the opponent's going to make it to a 2nd charge move. I will end up committing a shield here. but I know that Mandibuzz is my win con. I basically just need to farm this into a range where Mandibuzz can fully snarl down if I need to before they make it to another charge move. And it's going to be a little bit awkward, but the opponent does end up letting that go. Back in comes the Nidoqueen. Can we make it to another charge move? No, we cannot. The question is, can we make it to 3 Aerial Aces before the opponent is able to make it to a Poison Fang plus a Stone Edge, or yeah, basically they need to go for a Stone Edge here. 2 Poison Fangs will not be enough to knock out, and it looks like we will be able to outpace because it is straight for the Poison Fang, and the opponent did not have the back-to-back. So here comes Aerial Ace number 2. If the opponent puts up a shield, they're already in the red. Here comes Aerial Ace number 3, and we do outpace the opponent. So Aerial Ace number 3 picks up the knockout on the Nidoqueen, and we are able to take that win. Into next matchup, we've got Nidoqueen into Fortress once again, picking up another fantastic lead. The opponent this time is going to safe switch into Gallipod, and we quickly respond with Mandibuzz. Shadow Claw is resisted in this matchup, which means my opponent has absolutely no fast move pressure. I will let the Aqua Jets go, and now I can look to connect with super effective Aerial Aces. Now, 1 Aerial Ace is not enough to knock out the Gallipod, so they could let this go, and it's actually not as bad of a matchup as you may expect, but because we are on Snarl, our pacing is a lot better than with Air Slash, and while we can't get the full farm down, the opponent actually ends up pivoting back into the Fortress, so this just leads Nidoqueen into a perfect matchup. They can full send an Earthquake here, but 1 Earthquake will not be enough to knock out, so I'm more than comfortable with just letting that go, knowing that they have no ability to fully farm me down. So I'm going to be no shielding the Earthquake. They end up going for a Mirror Shot bait, a rare Mirror Shot Fortress in the Halloween Cup. I'm not sure what they're focusing here. Maybe they're hunting the Carbanks, who knows. But Mirror Shot number 2, not enough to knock out. They're actually already at a Mirror Shot number 3, and Mirror Shot number 3 will end up putting us into the red health range, but we do get that full farm down. In the back is a Clodsire. Back in comes the Gallipod, however, and they will be able to go for an Aqua Jet here. Aqua Jet puts us into the red health range, and they're already at another Aqua Jet as well, which puts me in a little bit of an awkward situation, as I do want to shield this up because I have so much energy on the Mandibuzz. Here comes an Aerial Ace now. This will be enough to pick up the knockout on the Gallipod, and then now I can start chipping that Clodsire in the back. Now going to be full sending Shadow Balls here. This will do some solid chip, but it's not going to be enough to knock out. And I'm kind of in an awkward position because Nidoqueen is very low, and the Floette doesn't have a great matchup there because Poison Sting is super effective. So I am forced to let the Stone Edge go on the Mandibuzz, and then back in comes the Nidoqueen. I'm just going to start spamming out Poison Fangs here, just making my Mud Slaps add up, because even though my Poison Fang is double resisted, these Mud Slaps are really doing some solid chip. They're already in the yellow health range, and if I lower their defense twice, I can maybe go for a full Vine Whip farm down. The opponent ends up letting an entire Mud Slap in for free as well. They now will be able to pick up the knockout with the Stone Edge, but that's okay. We still have a shield in play. We get 1 turn lag, but it shouldn't matter in this endgame, as we can look to put up a shield, go for the full Vine Whip farm down before the opponent is able to make it to another charge move, and that's exactly what's going to happen. The opponent goes down, and we are able to take that win. So yeah, that was Floette in the Halloween Cup. It was so much fun building and running this Pokemon. It was surprisingly bulky, and I guarantee I surprised a lot of my opponents, because who has seen this Pokemon in the Open Great League before? But yeah, that's going to be it from me from this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I do want to say thank you to the expert trainer members on this channel: Benny Hemlock, Dr. Fiend Mustache, Eliana, Perry G, Blue Nation, Peter Rushworth, Alright 504, Chompus Clips, and Sons of Code, as well as an extra special thank you to the legend trainer members on this channel: Andrew Pitten, Musachu, Noodleman, Speedster, Estros, Fast Eddie Boss, CD Slaskus, and Start Bonsai. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace.